We have fans which create quite a bit of noise in the room, so please do speak up when talking so you can be heard across the room. Councillors and officers are reminded of their commitment to the civility and respect pledge and to be mindful of this during the meeting. Please be aware that the Council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. I would just like to highlight some key parts of the meeting format. Please can I ask everyone to have their phones turned off or set to silent. Please remain seated unless you're invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. And due to the heat, we will be taking collective comfort breaks a bit more frequently than we might otherwise do. And the toilet facilities are out in the corridor. You enter through, doesn't mean through the corridor and not the stairs. The fire exits are via the doors out of the chambers and down the external fire escape stairs or via the main entrance that you enter the building through. The assembly point is outside the Royal Mail Parcel Office on West Street. Which takes us to item 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
Chair, we have 8 apologies for absence this evening. We have apologies from Councillor Horu for work commitments, Councillor Bristow for personal commitments, Councillor Mead for work commitments, Councillors Richard and Olivia Honeyman for personal commitments, Councillor Dunn for personal commitments, Councillor Ruth Sturton for personal commitments, and Councillor Adnidi because he feels unwell. Those need to be approved.
They need to be approved, yes. So I move this to a vote for, can anyone oppose accepting all of these apologies in block? Councillor Markwell, anyone second? Councillor Rutland, all in favour? So the apologies are accepted. Which brings us to item 2, which is disclosure of changes or disclosure of interests. Then I will move on to item 3, which is public participation. There are no members of the public, so I can move on to item 4, which is petitions. Do we have any, in accordance with the Town Council petitions policy, this is a standard agenda item to facilitate any public petitions being presented to and voted by the Council.
There are no petitions.
Which brings me on to item 5, which is the minutes. We have no minutes from assets and facilities or FMGP. Can I possibly invite our former mayor to propose the acceptance of the full council minutes of the 23rd of April? Anyone wish to second? Councillor Walraven, all in favour? And similarly for 29th of April, extraordinary full council minutes. Councillor Rutland second. Well, for the record, Councillor Weirmouth proposed, Councillor Rutland second, all in favour? I will propose the acceptance of the annual general meeting minutes of 14th of May. That's someone second, and Councillor Weirmouth, all in favour? Minutes of the meeting, ordinary meeting of 11th of June have not been approved by the chair, so council will be presented at the next full council meeting. 5.4 we have Gloucester, who could we'll have Councillor Rod McCannell propose these, Councillor Sally Markwell second. All in favour? And then we have a recommendation. The recommendation at minute ref GO 0812 of these minutes is presented for consideration the full council within agenda item 4, so it's not been approved at this stage. I guess I should have read that before. I think I went before to a vote. I hope that was clear from the papers end. If not, I will close it now. No. Which brings us to personnel of 21st of May. And the recommendations, well, there are 3 recommendations for full council within the minutes. There's PE 03.2, PE 04.2 and PE 04.3. These policies are all being presented to full council on 23rd July, and as such, whilst the minutes can be approved as an act of the meeting, the recommendations will not be considered at this meeting. So, can I have a proposer for the personnel minutes, Councillor Markwell, and a seconder, Councillor Berman? All in favour? Which takes us to 5.6, planning and highways of 12th of May. Can we have a proposer? Sorry? We have Councillor Berman.
A slight amendment on it, it's probably more of a typo, but in where it says Council's President, it says Councillor I. Taylor, subbing for Councillor I. Taylor. It should be subbing for Councillor O'Hanlon. But apart from that,
Okay, I don't think we need to go through a formal amendment. We just approve subject to recommendation. And you are proposing Councillor Berman. Who would second? Councillor Markwell, all in favour? And okay, so we strike from the record the bottom box. Which brings us to item 6, the 25 to 26 fixed asset register review, pages 7 to 14 of the document. Does anyone have any questions to be raised about Councillor Walraven?
One thing, where I was acting on this part, I can't see it listed on the community assets. And I think this painting is quite bad.
Okay, can officers enlighten us?
I think it's part of the civic insurance, but we can double check. I'm not sure it's like a specific element as well. Fixed assets, so I think it's part of the content. We can check that here.
Have you go to years ago, she got the one established up in the
that the final question, Councillor Wilder?
Yeah, the only other query is what the values of 2012.
Thank you.
Was that nice? So one of the recommendations we've had about the fixed asset register is that we have the value will always be the value at the time it was handed over. There'll be an insurable value. And then there is an assessment that is done to make sure the valuations are up to date, which is something we're looking to do this year. So that's the recommendation that's coming through as well. Just to make sure that they're
A moment, Councillor Buchanan, unless we have an answer to the difficulty question, I will really move on and ask officers to report that by Okay, right, thank you. And Councillor Buchanan?
Thank you, Chair. I think just coming back to that 2012 issue for the assets, property cost based on the insurance value of 31st of March 2012. This relates to an artillery changing places, which wasn't there. I'm not quite clear how that asset valuation works. It's on page 12, top of the page, first one. Item number 7 on top of the page. So there's a
Minimum artillery changing costs, on the top of the
yeah, artillery changing places.
2024 on that.
I know, but under the notes.
Notes.
Talks about property costs based on the insurance value of 2012. Maybe it's just the way things were counted. I'm not sure.
Do you not know the answer, but we will find out.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. This is what I just want to say. I think this is an impressive piece of work. I'm sure it's in all the time. It's an amazing list to read it, just as, think about it. I thought that was very interesting. Illuminating the fact that we see a lot more assets than I actually, to my impression, I think. Not that I spent a lot of time thinking about it. What I want to say was one, I was curious about the fact that it can't be, once finalised, it can't be reopened, but I guess soon now that we've resolved that point. What I was to say is about the War Memorial 108. Now, that one was the way part of the War Memorial is the wedding gift that was made from the resident in the name of winning who was the Redden family. I was involved in that. It involved a gift of another piece of sculpture which is actually linked into that war memorial. You can see it if you look carefully enough. It is down around level. So I'm asking about this because it may matter to the Redden family, or it may matter to the person who made
So the issue, Councillor Taylor, is that the book value might be seen as reflecting judgment on the work which we look at in the eyes of the family.
Well, yes, it might be understood that way. One word is very inclusive kind of title. This is actually a metal sculpture was part of that gift. And it's
So I suppose there's another issue of whether this should be listed separately.
yeah. I didn't look to see whether it was listed separately. The donor was not concerned about being. I don't think the donor has been identified or recognized as far as I know. It is someone I know that donor actually exists. I haven't seen any reference to it somewhere else here.
I suppose the thing is that it would become quite unwieldy to start listing individual assets. So, for example, at Warner Memorial, we do also have a plaque in memory of Bromley. And there's various other individual commemorations, assets that are linked to certain individuals. But to start listing them out individually, I think it would be too long.
That's helpful. But perhaps then you know somewhere, you know, saying, not even identifying what specifically you're talking about, but we can't include everything, something like that. Gifts have been made at the time of all gifts.
I think certainly you could have a line at the bottom that says, you know, this list does not include each individual item of an extra asset on a site.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. These are important considerations. I'll give one more chance if anyone wishes to raise anything before putting this to the vote to adopt the fixed asset register, subject to copy and paste error correcting down the line. Okay, does anyone wish to propose that vote? Councillor Weirmouth, Councillor Markwell, second. All in favour? So this brings us to item 7, which is the internal audit report for the year end of 31st of March 2026, and that is Mr. Teach's item, so well, that's you.
Thank you, Chair. So this report covered the final audit produced by our internal auditor, Parish and Town Audit Services, which I hope everybody can see is a very positive audit. This is in a good place. I welcome any questions.
Councillor Lubas.
Item L, 27, procurement information. It's saying that tenders are published, which we know they are now, but as soon as they're published, they're deleted. Is it possible to keep procurement information on the web page so that there is a history of what procurement has been in the past? And secondly, on contracts, it says here that contracts are published, and I asked a question about that because I can't see any contracts published. However, there is a list of expenditure, and it isn't very clear which is the contract. And I know it's something we're going to publish in the future. You said at the end of the financial year. Is that something that you can publish as an ongoing thing on a monthly basis so that the public have the view rather than wait to the end
thoughts on that, please?
So the conversation I had with our internal auditor was that we cover all the mandatory requirements of contracts. So answering the first question, by the fact that when we said we could go to £500, that's in there. His guidance was is that we separate it, provide a separate document and list it, and his guidance again was that we produce that. They don't have an issue. Us producing it probably on a more frequent basis, or maybe quarterly or something similar. Because when we'll collect that information, it's just pulling it out of the plus 500. So I'm happy to do that on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to raise any issues? Okay, that being the case, I will ask if anyone wishes to propose a vote on officer recommendation 1 to note the internal audit report section of the ADAR in Appendix A. Councillor Jeff Rutland proposes, Councillor Walraven and second, all in favour. And the second officer recommendation is to note the final report of the internal auditor in Appendix B. Then we'll that. Councillor Weirman, seconder. Councillor Berman, all in favour? Okay, so this takes us my paper to the item 8, which is what we've all been waiting for, is the annual government statement 2025-26, pages 30 to 43. And this is again Mr. Teacher's agenda item, so I will ask you.
Thank you, Chair. So this report covers the annual government statement 25 to 26 before council approval. I will add there's just one update on this matter. So it's our intention to provide a statement relating to Section 1, Assertion 2. This is under the advice of our independent auditor and agreed by EKF, which is the independent auditor, as the appropriate course of action. This will apply to the report and the overall return and also the published. Welcome to questions.
Any questions? It sounds like that is straightforward then. In that case, I should do these one by one, shouldn't I? I ask if anyone wishes to propose a vote on officer recommendation 1 to agree that to the best of his knowledge and belief is complied with all assertions in the annual government statement for the year ended 31 March 2026. Councillor Weirmouth, seconded, is that Councillor Taylor, all in favour? And can I ask someone to propose a vote on item 2 to approve the annual government statement for the year ended 31 March 2026, Appendix A, and to authorise the Mayor and Town Clerk to sign Section 1 of the Annual Government and Accountability Return on behalf of the Town Council. Councillor Rutland proposes, Councillor Walraven seconds, all in favour. And okay. We have a vote on officer recommendation 3 to note the public notice dates of 1st of July 2026 to Gorman, seconded by Councillor Rutland. All in favour? Okay, so that brings us on to item 9, the annual governance and accountability return, accounting statement, section 2 and final account 2025-26. This relates to the paper which is in pages 44 to 81, and I believe this is also Mr. Peach's
We hear a different voice.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Chair. So this report presents the Council's final accounts and section 2 of the annual governance and accountability return for the year ending March 2026. The accounts have been prepared in accordance with good practices and have been subject to both internal audit and review of the finance officer. So the report summarises the Council's financial position at the year end, including the income and expenditure account, balance sheet and reserves. So following approval this evening, AGOL will be submitted to our external auditor in accordance with statutory documentation. So members are therefore asked to approve the accounting statements and authorise the Mayor to sign section 2 of the AGOL.
Any questions? In that case, I will ask for anyone who wishes to propose a vote on officer recommendation 1 to consider and approve section 2 of the AGAR return accounting statements 2025-26 by resolution. Councillor Wearmouth, seconded by Councillor Gorman. All in favour? And I need a proposer for item 2 to authorise the Mayor as Chair of the Town Council to sign section 2 of the AGAR 2025-26 on behalf of the Town Council. Councillor Rutland proposes, Councillor Walraven seconds. All in favour? Do we have a proposer for item 3 to note the earmarked reserve movements including capital receipts and expenditure? Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. All in favour? And do we have a proposer for item 4 to approve further earmarked reserve movements listed in appendix G? Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Gorman. All in favour? Right. That brings us to item 10. Before we move to item 10, comfort breaks don't have to be long to be effective, so I will suspend business for 5 minutes. Proceed to item 10, which is review of risk arrangements 2026-27, covered in pages 82 to 99 of the report. Again, that is the Deputy Town Clerk's paper, so I will ask Mr. Cage to present this.
Thank you, Chair. This report covers the review of the Council's corporate risk register and the adoption of the general financial risk assessment. Any questions?
is that a hand?
It's just hot.
Okay. In that case, if the questions, if there are no questions, I would ask if anyone wishes to propose a vote on officer recommendation 1 to note the review of the town council's corporate risk register. Councillor Markwell, seconded by Councillor Wearmouth, all in favour. And can I have a proposal for item 2 to adopt the revised 2026-27 general and financial risk assessment presented in report appendix A, noting that this is a working document that will be updated as the need arises and presented for adoption. Councillor Rutland and seconded by Councillor Walden, and all in favour. Okay. And votes, any votes against? Any abstentions?
What, sorry, no, again.
No, against.
I'm sorry, I misheard.
Okay.
Sound like you.
I beg to pardon, Councillor, there are hands going left, right and centre due to the heat. I will try to project a little better. Enunciate, yes. Which brings us to item 11, review of internal controls 2026-27. And this matter is dealt with in pages 100 to 107 of the bundle. And this is your item, Mr. Finch.
Thank you, Chair. So the report covers a review of our internal controls. As shown in Appendix A, changes from last year highlighted in yellow, and just a note that we brought the internal controls forward to the start of the financial year. Sorry, I'll throw my voice again. Okay. Appendix A, changes from last year are highlighted in yellow, and then just also to note that we moved this process to the start of the financial year, whereas previously we did it at the end of the year.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, we're good.
No. Thank you, Councillor Rutland. In that case, well, I asked, we have a question from Councillor Markwell.
Hello, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you very much for uploading of the amendments, changes in yellow, are around the new online software. So it's really helpful to see that those things are now being moved online, because just remembering when I was involved with it before, that it's actually much clearer and much more transparent to have these things, on our computers or on your computers, as opposed to it being rather original before. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Councillor Markwell. We have, of course, appreciated all the work and all the officers who have been into all these documents. Impressive work. Can I ask first if someone is prepared to propose officer recommendation 1 to approve the town council's internal controls, Councillor Walraven, and seconded by Councillor Gorman. All in favour? And do we have a proposal for item 2, which is to note that statements 2, 5, 6, 7 and 10 of the annual government statement have been complied with, as set out in section 1.6 of the report 22/26. Councillor Wearmouth proposes, Councillor Taylor seconds. All in favour? Okay, so this leads us to item 12, which is appointment of the 2026-2027 internal auditor. This item is dealt with in pages 108 to 111 of the bundle. Again, this is Mr. Keach's outfit. So Lucy, take this one. Please start.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is asking members to consider the appointment of Parish and Town Audit Services as the Council's internal auditor for the 26-27 financial year. Having completed their first year with the Council's internal auditor, auditors are satisfied with the quality of the service provided and recommend their reappointment. They're proposed to be remaining within the approved budget and it is the same as the previous year. So members are therefore asked to approve the appointment and members to be accompanying letter of engagement. So happy to have them listed.
Any questions? In that case, I move to the votes. We have a proposer for item 1. To note the satisfactory completion of the 2025-26 internal audit process undertaken by the Parish and Town Auditing Services. Yes, I'll Councillor Budas. And does anyone want to second this matter? I see Councillor Markwell, all in favour. And we have a proposer for the second item to approve the appointment of the Parish and Town Auditing Services as the Town Council's internal auditor for the 2026-27 financial year. Councillor Weirmouth proposes that Councillor Dudas seconds. All in favour? And we have a proposer for item 3 to note the attached letter of engagement for 2026-2027 as a tap public state. Councillor Dubas, seconded by Councillor Bowen, and all in favour. We're changing gear now. We have item 30. This is an update to the mileage claim rate for the staff and travel expenses policy, and that's dealt with in pages 112 to 113 of the Does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry, I'd like to find Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. I probably should know the answer to this. So this is a start. I'm just wondering, is there allowance made for councillors who can't afford to pay their own rate? So I'm not asking as another person interest in this, but I think this is an important issue.
My understanding is that councillors can claim travel expenses. There are some limitations on that. I know this is a basic allowance.
Can I just respond? Because there will be a change in councillors at the end of this year, some councillors anyway. It seems to me that in terms of chatting, we do need to be very clear about what might be subsidised.
So through the chair, Councillor Taylor, we are proposing to bring to FNGP in December a paper which proposes whether or not the next term of administration should attract a council's allowance. It was proposed in 2025 for this group of councillors, it was rejected, but it was agreed that we would bring it back in December with a view to whether or not we wanted it for the next term of council. And so that's depending on what happens in that FNGP meeting.
Councillor Weirmouth.
If I don't stand up and too hot. It's just really a comment that my understanding is that there is travelling around councillors, if they're going about council business outside the boundaries of Seaford. And this affects mostly the mayor, who does quite a lot of external travelling. So my question is, presumably these rates will be adjusted for the small amount of time that the councillors can officially claim expenses, travel expenses. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, is that implicit in the policy as written as opposed to the correct analysis?
Yes, I mean, I think the issue is that the policy stated 45p a mile, and we only recently got that approved by council. So we had a policy that was wrong. What we're proposing here is that we follow whatever the government says, and we delegate authorities, and we can change that if the government changes the rate. But I think, from my view, that would cover officers and councillors equally, where councillors have a valid reason to make a claim for traffic, which isn't very often, and like we say, it's normally just the mayor or deputy mayor as they're covering.
Okay, Councillor Rutland.
Just if, rather than keep changing the policy, if we just make an amendment that it will mirror whatever the in-air revenue guidelines are. In the future, if that rate changes, it changes with policy.
Yeah, I think that's what we sought to do by adding in there an ongoing delegated authority to the town clerk to change it as and when
So,
the government changes, rather than bringing it back to council.
Perfect. Job's good.
You're showing your rate with references to inland revenue, Councillor Rutland, and you say so. Councillor Taylor.
Just point out that the outside indeed often does require going out to see, I think we should minimise that aspect.
That's a very well taken point, Councillor Taylor.
Through the chair, there is a members' allowance policy on the website, which details the process that the council can go through for valid mileage.
I suppose I do have a question, Mr. Quayle, about your assertion that this policy would be caught by this paper now, as opposed to requiring a specific amendment. So I'm happy to take your assurance on that. I just want to underscore that that is meticulously the case. You can always choose to get back to us.
Yeah, I'll come back to you.
Good. Thanks. Are there any other comments, questions? In that case, I ask if anyone wishes to propose the first item to agree that the mileage rates within the staff travel expenses policy are increased from 45 pence per mile up to 55 pence per mile, and that date the 1st of April 2026 as per government guidance. Anyone proposing? Councillor Weirmouth, seconding Councillor Rutland, all in favour? And secondly, does anyone wish to propose item 2 to agree a permanent delegation power to the town clerk to update the staff travel expenses policy in the event of any further mileage claim rate changes by the government, reporting any updates back to FGP at the next available opportunity. Furthermore, the officers will add this delegation to the interim of delegation policy. Councillor Rutland, I believe you want to propose that. Does anyone want to second that? Councillor Gorman, all in favour? So item 14 is a committee chair appointment to consider a report 3226 seeking any nominations for appointment to the role of chair of Finance and General Purposes Committee, pages 114 to 118. Councillor Warren. Councillor Gorman has indeed that experience. Councillor Markwell.
I'd like to second that.
Okay. All in favour? So don't people do
You can't vote against.
Does anyone wish to vote
Yeah,
against? I should ask if does anyone wish to vote against? Against. Enunciate. Does anyone wish to abstain? Yes. Congratulations, Councillor Gorman.
If there are any councillors to join
And can I ask if there are any councillors willing to join FNGP? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. This brings us to item 15, which is additional 6 signatory for banking investment. To consider report 2826, seeking approval for the Deputy Town Clerk and Responsible Financial Officer to be appointed as signatory for both the Cooperative Bank and the CCLA sector voluntary account. The report is 119 to 122 of the bundle. Yes, please.
Okay, so recently there was an urgent payment that was made, and the recipient contacted us several times and said it hadn't been paid, even though we could see it had been paid. And when we phoned the cooperative bank, they told us it had been held back as a routine fraud check, but they were unable to talk to Darryl about it because he wasn't a named signatory on the bank account, and it caused all sorts of logistical problems. And so the proposal here is to add Darryl on there as a named signatory, and I welcome any questions.
Okay, so the first officer recommendation is to note the contents of this report. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Gorman, do I have a seconder? Councillor Rutland, all in favour? And the second recommendation is to approve Darryl Deputy Town Clerk and Responsible Financial Officer as an authorised signatory for the Cooperative Bank account. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Markwell, seconded by Councillor Rutland. All in favour? And thirdly, to approve to authorise persons signatories on the CCLA Public Sector Deposit Fund as follows, and authorise the finance manager to complete and submit the necessary documentation to account for the account mandate. To update the account mandates. The following people are Steve Whale, Town Clerk, Darryl Keith, Deputy Town Clerk and Responsible Financial Officer, and Lucy Clark, Financial Manager. So I have a proposal. Councillor Gorman, we have a seconder. Councillor Weirman, all in favour. I think the next item is exclusion of present business. In accordance with the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the discussion of the next item of business for the reasons set out below. The resolutions of the items will be recorded publicly in the minutes of this meeting, and the reason set out below is that the property officer considers that discussion of the following items is likely to disclose or present information as defined in the Local Government Act 1972 and data protection legislation, and may therefore need to take place in private session. The exempt information reasons are shown alongside each item below. Furthermore, in relation to paragraph 10 of Schedule 12A, it's considered that the public interest in maintaining an exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Gorman, do I have a seconder? Councillor Markwell, all in favour? Okay, I make it 1 to 8, so a 5-minute comfort break before we're